First of all, why do you say least famous university? And what are these different career roles that people can get into if they do cyber security?
If you want to become a good cybersecurity engineer, I think you would have to be a very good software engineer first.
Is cybersecurity booming? Does it have job? Is it going to have job with this AI and all of
I
that?
don't know, for some reason, I was so happy to look at that rejection mail because
Yeah.
I knew I was on the right track if I'm at least getting some responses.
The IBM did not convert into full time, and that's because obviously 2023 worst market, they were not hiring freeze and all of that. So now comes the full time hunt. When did you start? What was the strategy that you applied? So what is the typical salary range for cybersecurity engineers? Wait, I helped you say 30K? How? Before we dive into all the strategies and stories that we're going to discuss in this podcast, let me ask you this. Do you have a clear job hunting strategy to get an internship or full time job? Most people don't, and it's costing them opportunities. I've helped over 1100 students with their strategies through my ultimate job hunting course.
And trust me, I'm not even kidding. I could see so many recruiters viewing my profile.
And it's been the best investment I've ever made.
The content is incredibly practical, filled with tips and strategies that make you stand out to recruiters.
It was one of the best courses that I have done till date.
This course covers everything that you need to stand out. You will get ultimate resume course, you will get ultimate LinkedIn course, networking strategy, access to 1100 plus job seekers for support, and personal support from me through WhatsApp group. I will walk you through every single step that you need with real examples and the tools that will give you an edge. I don't want you to miss any other opportunity to land your next job or an internship. So check the link in the description. And now I will let you enjoy the podcast. Thank you, Bala, for doing this. I am excited to talk about. First, there's not many security engineering content on my channel. So thank you for saying yes to me. And I'm excited to share your journey with everybody on your unique job hunting tips and how you got the job as well. But before we get to that, let's do like a quick intro.
Starting off with myself, my name is Bala Pranit, and I came to the US in the year 2021, especially during the fall semester. I've studied a master's in cybersecurity from one of the least famous, I would say, universities called UNC Charlotte. It's in North Carolina.
Okay.
And during my master's, I've been exposed to a lot of different cybersecurity topics and domains. So I think that helped me further in my career to learn a lot of skills.
Also, one more thing. So, two questions. First of all, why do you say least famous university? And the second one, did you have any experience in India?
Uh, yeah, sure. So I'll answer with the first one. I mentioned it as least famous because I think it's the curriculum itself for cybersecurity over there in the UNCC is absolutely top notch.
Hmm.
If you want to learn really good skills, get your fundamentals right, I think that is where the place you would have to look into, especially in that university. And I personally wanted to bring this up just to make people aware that if you are interested in cybersecurity, then you got to check it out, UNC Charlotte. The work experience part, I would say a little bit on and off because I was doing a bit of freelancing and also I was working on a real time project. So I
Okay.
had to work for like a corporate company as called, but I do have some kind of experience while being in India,
Hmm.
especially during the year of like 2020. So
Hmm. Okay. Got it. So, you do have like an overall profile and a portfolio about security stuff, but you don't like have a internship, like a legal, like not legal, but like a corporate, a full-time job that you had as a security engineer. So that'll be interesting to kind of dissect further. But before we dive into your job hunting, I am noob in security engineering. Like I know I keep hearing so many terms: network engineer, security analyst, risk analyst, cyber security engineer. What is your role, and what are these different career roles that people can get into if they do secure cyber security?
So yeah, one of the important aspects in cybersecurity is it's very vast. Okay. And my current role is I work as an information security engineer for a financial institution. And then, generally speaking of cybersecurity, people assume red teaming and then blue teaming, only two sides of it. But then I would say there is a lot of domains, especially looking onto the supply chain security, or might be a software development security, right? Secure code. You have to have the knowledge of writing secure code, right? And then if any of the vulnerabilities are there in your code, right, you would also have to know what kind of packages or other different software frameworks have vulnerabilities. So I would say, not diving into depth, but if you want to become a good cybersecurity engineer, I think you would have to be a very good software engineer first. Because
Mm.
understand how systems work, it's going to be a painful job for the security engineers. So,
But what
think,
about, like, I also hear about the network engineers, network security engineers. Do they have to really understand how the coding works? Because I don't think they really care, right? Like, it's all about firewall. And again, I don't know this. I'm asking you this
right.
question.
So, again, Yudi, here the concept comes like if you are interested in the hardware side of things or the software side of things, right?
Hmm.
You look at a network engineer, you can look at it in two perspectives:
Hmm.
in a very hardware perspective, and another in a very above hardware, that's software, like, right? So if you are trying to become a network engineer, for an example, correct, you'd have to know the fundamentals of networking, like what are ports, what protocols are there, right? What is HTTP, what is HTTPS, right? These are
Hmm.
very fundamental things, right?
Hmm.
Once people have grip on these fundamentals, they can easily pivot into another domain.
What you're going to watch is an amazing story. But before you watch that, I just want to quickly say that all of these story, I compile the key insights from these stories and all the podcasts that I do. And I put this in my free exclusive newsletter community. Every week, more than 16,000 people receive my newsletter and they love it. And here are some of the examples. You can see this was a podcast on George Mason universities, and you can see how to network and 10% cold emailing, powerful LinkedIn techniques, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in becoming part of this exclusive newsletter community, absolutely free. Link is in the description, or you can go to udj.com/newsletter. You also mentioned red team, blue team. What's the difference?
So to simply tell you, consider red team as hackers who actively hack into systems, right? And then these are good hackers again. So
Yeah, I mean, they're intentionally trying to hack so they can show that, hey, look, your system is hackable.
correct, yeah, right. And this helps the red team hackers to solve and find out vulnerabilities before the bad guys actually hack into the network.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Right? That is simple way of explaining red teaming. But then if you consider blue teaming, it's like you're defending your castle, right?
Hmm.
You are defending your network. And if the red team is attacking, you have to know how to defend your network. So that's like
Oh,
the
so if the virus has been come to your system, now you have to figure out like how to get out of it.
exactly right.
Got it. Got
It's
it. Okay. So which team are you in?
I am in, again, currently a team called Purple Team. So what
Oh.
Purple Team does is basically a bit of red teaming and as well as blue teaming. So you
Mm.
have to have an idea of the red team fundamentals, the tactics and methodologies. At the same time, it's important to have that blue team mindset wherein you know how to manage your assets, defend your assets at the same time. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a special domain that's called DevSecOps UD for this one. So
Mm. Okay.
yeah.
And then there is cloud security as well, which I'm assuming falls under the network software side of things, because it's in the cloud. But then there's whole another Deloitte and KPMG. These people also hire from cybersecurity to write compliance policies and SOC 2 compliance and SOC compliance. So what are these areas?
Sure. So mostly these are defined as GRC roles, right? So what these roles do in real time is, let's say, they give you best practices guide to follow to implement a certain technology stack, right? Think of it as a safe guardrails for your technology stack before you actually architect the entire solution. Like,
Hmm.
to put it up in a simple way, consider a house, right? You always have to lock your house, lock your doors, right? Make sure everything is like clean and neat. So these are all compliances. Like, it's mandatory that you have to do it.
Yeah, and the companies like Deloitte, KPMG, and all these people, they obviously they are getting hired by the clients to make sure they are SOC compliant. Love it. One last question before we dive into the job hunting is cybersecurity booming? Does it have job? Is it going to have job with this AI and all of this? A lot of people are scared that AI is going to take away cybersecurity engineers job. So is this true? Or is there a demand of this field?
Yeah. This is actually a very huge question for me to answer, Yudi. I'm just a small part of this entire puzzle. But I think if you're really passionate and interested in cybersecurity or in any kind of domain, you will find your way out.
Hmm.
I think all it requires is to have a bit of craziness. Like, yes, do you like it or not? Yes, if you'll find your way out. So,
Yeah, the reason I was asking was I did a podcast last week with someone. They work in Apple as a security network engineer, and so they mentioned that y- this field is never going to die, and no matter of AI is not going to take away the jobs, as long as, like you said, you have the skills. And he also said something interesting. He said the thing with the security is like you just have to know the basic concepts and fundamentals. If your core is strong, you will be fine, and the bar is like that low. I'm like, wow. That is interesting. Is that true? Would you agree?
uh, I would agree and disagree at the same time, because
Hmm.
one thing what you said right is the fundamentals are core pillars, right? You have to make sure that your fundamentals are right. But at the same time, if you build your skills on the fundamentals, right, I think it will take you a long way ahead. Don't look
Hmm.
at just for like 1 2 years of time. Look at a long journey where you want to sustain in this field.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would say keep building up your skills, and then you're in a very good place to go.
Nice. Okay, great. Let's dive into the job hunting journey of yours. You came in fall. When did you graduate?
So I graduated in 2023 May.
Which is the worst job market ever. There were no one was hiring. But something interesting, you also told me that you had IBM co-op as well, for which was like a pretty big, like almost 12 months co-op, right? So
Yep.
is that so? Sorry, I know we are gonna talk about job hunting, but because I have the question, so 1 year co-op, does UNCC allow you to do 1 year co-op?
So there is a very tricky way of putting this out, Yudi. To simply answer, yes, it does, right? And then co-op doesn't necessarily have to be 40 hours. It can
Okay.
also be 20 hours of time. So
Okay.
what I have done is I did get an internship during the summer
Hmm.
to my first year, right? I've worked really hard on this one, and then I've learned a lot of new skills. So the manager had seen something in me, and he then extended that offer to the next December. That's the next fall semester. Okay. So what happened here is I was working only 20 hours with IBM, consider it as like a part-time job while being a student.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did the same thing. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But then instead of working on campus, I was working for IBM. So
Mm.
that's how I continued the next 6 months or whatever the time period is. And then that got extended into another 20 hours in the next semester.
Mm.
This was again done by replacing a subject. So what
Correct.
I've done is we have to complete 10 subjects in order to get a degree, right? So I
Yeah.
did only 9 subjects, and then the last subject I'd switched it with that internship, and then did a 1 full year of that internship.
Mm.
That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I did the same. I got my project management internship in summer, and then they extended it. They wanted me to continue. They wanted me to work more, but they said like 20 hours is fine too. So then I did not end up doing on campus job. I started doing this, but I had to take one CPT credit to do that. Like it's not like you can do off campus job. You still have to enroll into a credit to show that that is helping you with your education. So I'm guessing it's a similar concept. Yeah.
It's exactly the same. Yep.
Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. So how did you get it? What was the timeline? When did you apply? When did you start your job hunting journey? What was the first thing you did?
Okay. So most of my friends started applying in the month of right when they landed in the US, but I was just trying to enjoy, actually take in that happens in the US, right? And then I started off my applications exactly in the month of January.
So you skipped the first semester completely.
Yep. And
But,
then
you started applying in January, but what did you work on your resume, LinkedIn, and all of that in the first semester or no?
so I had worked on all of these things while I was in India.
Okay,
This
got
gave
it.
me advantage of that, first semester, try to enjoy, meet new people, experience
Nice.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
So started applying in January, and then I was doing just 2 3 applications per day, and
Mm,
I started noticing a pattern wherein if let's say I applied today for a particular job role, I would get a response which is obviously rejected in minimum time span of like let's say 20 days. So I
okay.
started noticing this pattern, and then
Okay.
what I've done is actually applied properly, I would say, in the month of February.
Okay.
So after applying in February again, I did 30 applications per day, did
Wow. Went
use
from 3 to 30. Okay.
right. The way I've again thought about this is, Yudi, I've considered this as my part-time job. So I used to sit down
Hmm.
4 hours, 3 hours straight, try to apply as many applications as possible. Among that 30, 20 quality applications and 10 random. So
Hmm.
that's my strategy of applying it. So I kept on applying it. I used to get a lot of rejection mails, and I don't know, for some reason I was so happy to look at that rejection mail because
Yeah.
I knew I was on the right track if I'm at least getting some responses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, complete ghosting is like a feeling like I don't even know if like what's going on. So yeah, 100% agree. Getting a reject is at least a good sign that okay, you can change the direction, but not getting anything is frustrating.
Exactly, right. So, and I've started applying like this. Long story short, I've applied around 800 to 900 applications.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I've got calls from at least I think around 20 companies among all of these. And then out of these 20 companies, I remember clearing 4 interviews, which had 4 rounds for internships. And among that, I had landed one from IBM.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
a long story
So
short.
all the students who are watching this, they should do the math in their head that rough, like I know there are obviously exceptional cases where people apply to 10 and they get it, and some apply to thousands and then they ultimately get one offer. So just don't give up, keep at it, is ultimately what I'm trying to get at. That you never know, like the thousandth application you did, and that was going to turn into an offer.
Yeah, totally agree on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to deep dive into something you said, quality application.
What I've done is made up around 7 to 8 resumes, one for red teaming, as again, since I'm in cybersecurity, one for blue teaming, one for purple teaming, one for network engineer, all of these fields, right? I did make certain resumes, keep on applying and changing every resume for a particular role for exactly these 10 roles,
Hmm. Okay.
right? And for the remaining 20 of them, I used the best resume which I think fits for that particular role, kept on applying it.
Hmm. Hmm. Got it. So you customize the quality application, in your opinion, is customizing your resume for that role that you are applying, and even spending extra time in answering those application questions.
Correct. 100%.
So is that, so you mentioned that you did 800 to 900 application, and you got 20 interview calls, and ultimately 4 final rounds and 1 offer. uh, was that the only way you ended up getting calls? Did you try networking referral route at all, or did not work at all for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit naive on this one. So for internships, I didn't want to use that referral because I wanted to keep it for a full time job.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Right. And my actual strategy of job hunting starts when it comes to full time. And then
Mm,
that's how I'm going to share that in a while, though. So, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for internships, I kept it simple, rather go the traditional way, keep applying, give
Mm,
it to you, crack it.
yeah.
The managers, hiring managers, and the managers would test you on your fundamentals. And if you deep dive into technical skills, I think it's important to understand the top web vulnerabilities, for example, right? And then going a bit further, understand what is Active Directory and what attacks you can do in Windows environment, especially for red teaming side of it. But if you're on blue teaming side of it, I would say understand how you can resolve a particular bug ticket, right? And then have different methodologies of solving one problem.
Mm.
And then once you have this kind of technical skills and that mindset to solve it, I think you'll be in a pretty good shape to get and learn those skills as you progress.
Got it. And so, is there like an online assessment? So, how software engineers have OA or online assessments before even they get to the interview round. Is that true for security internships or no?
Yes, that is correct. Some companies do use this kind of approach. So the way it works is they give you a web application, okay, and they're going to tell you, hey, look, try to find out as many as vulnerabilities you can. Prepare a very well documented approach of how you've actually found those vulnerabilities and submit that document to us.
Mm,
Once the hiring manager or the panel looks at the documents, reviews it, then they will decide if the candidate is, well versed for that role or not. But yes, assessments do exist for the security engineers role.
got it. Okay. Sweet. So you got the IBM stuff. What's the typical salary range for security internships?
So, typical salary range would be around $38 to $65.
Nice.
Yeah,
Talking about this. Got it. Okay. But if in general, if you had a loan which was pretty high percentage, 15% interest rate,
oh,
you would have been able to pay off with your co-op.
that's correct. I would have easily paid off with that co-op amount.
Got it. Okay, nice. That is crazy, right? That is so crazy. But did your IBM internship, you said you have a full-time strategy and that was separate, which tells me that the IBM did not convert into full-time. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's because obviously 2023 worst market, they were not hiring freeze and all of that. So now comes the full-time hunt. When did you start? What was the strategy that you applied?
So for the full time job strategy, I started applying in the month of December.
Okay. So you were graduating in May 2023.
Yeah,
You started in December 2022. So roughly 6 months before you started working on it. Got it.
correct.
Okay.
And this was while I had the co-op offer in my hand, because I knew since it's the worst market, we cannot take any kind of risks,
Hmm.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
going with that one company. So what I've done and my strategy was to attend a lot of security meetups in
Hmm.
the US. So security community has a very vast conferences in the USA, Yudi, right?
Hmm.
One of it is called B-Sides, which is very active all over, even in India, even in the US. Every state and city has it almost like that. BSIDES, B and sides.
Okay. Yes, I see it. Got it.
So there are a lot of places like B-sides Raleigh, B-sides Charlotte, and then B-sides even San Antonio and places like that.
Hmm.
So what I have done is I used to find some time during the, especially most of these conferences are during the weekends. So what I used to do was attend a lot of conferences. I think the extrovert in me had come out attending these conferences. So upon attending these conferences, I noticed that it's a 2 day conference, right?
Hmm.
My simple thing is I love to make friends. So I love to learn from people. On the first day, I would interact with every person out there whom I think we can replicate, right? It
Hmm.
just it goes with the flow, like what activities you do, and then how do you network it out. All these skills matter again.
Hmm.
So the second day, what I did is I would just, I don't know why I had this idea. I just printed out my resumes, and then on the second day, it was a bit like chilled out. It's not that rush. So I used to go to these friends of mine, and these would be the people of like managers, the directors, and like hardcore programmers and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
used to go to these people, hand out my resumes, and be like, "Hey, buddy, can you please review my resume?" And they'll be like, yeah, sure, why not? People will agree for some and people might not agree, so be cool with that. No offense on that. Respect people's time. And then if people say yes, right, sit down. I used to sit with them 10 minutes, give my resume, and explain my story of why I love cybersecurity,
Hmm.
and they would actually review it and then tell me the points, and then I used to note down the points then and there.
Hmm.
That's how we already made a connection professionally as well. We've
Hmm.
already made a connection personally, which is very amazing. We've also got to know each other, sharing our stories and talking about security in general. And then once this was done, I think it's important to validate the person's efforts and appreciate their time. What I
Hmm.
used to do is drop them a LinkedIn message right then and there, thanking them for their time.
Hmm.
So in this way, what happens is they actually remember you that, oh, you know what, I actually know this person. Like we've interacted with them and then I know him in person, right? So that's how I did it. And then as I kept doing this, it was a rough journey, but I don't know, for some reason I loved it. As I kept doing this, uh, one person noticed something in me and he's like, hey Bala, I think I have a job role coming up. Do you wanna interview for it? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I got the interview and then attended that one shot, cleared it, landed a job.
Hmm.
But this is the end of the story. Now going back,
Hmm.
while doing this strategy, I had got a lot of calls from the companies, because while doing the strategy, at the end of the day, all it takes is like one person to vouch for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
if one person believes in you, you are in the company.
Hmm.
So I think as I was doing the strategy, I had received a lot of calls, but then unfortunately, I wasn't up to their mark. I had,
Hmm.
uh, I would say, not that good skills, which the company expected. But I did eventually land a job in this process of like networking, reviewing my resumes, build legit good connections. Don't build connections for your job or for your personal sake. Build connections so that you can contribute and as well as they can help you out. So it's a
Hmm.
two-way process.
Hmm.
I look at my professional and personal connections. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, now that you know that this works, going back in time, would you have now started instead of December 2022? Would you have started when you landed? Because by then you would have so much more opportunities than starting 6 months before you are graduating. Would you agree or no?
I don't agree on this, Yudi, because
Hmm.
I personally wanted to enjoy the exposure and the culture change, coming back from India. So I wouldn't like start right away once I landed in the
But I
US.
thought you enjoyed the conferences and meeting people.
Correct, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, I wouldn't want to do that right when I landed into the US.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
I would want to get some time to settle down and actually understand like the culture changes, the people over here, and then how to talk. It's important to communicate well, right?
Yeah.
So once I have all of these things down, then maybe yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I would 100% double down on what you said, the strategy which you used. I didn't know there were so many security conferences, but that's good. I'm assuming it's the same for product as well and software engineer. I know there are many conferences out there for software people. There's GHC as well, which is Grace Hopper conference. I would I agree. Like land, but not like the next day you go to a conference. But I wouldn't wait until like 2 semesters gone. I mean, sure, and you can still enjoy because it sounds like it just happened on weekends, so you can still go, and it sounds like it was more fun. I would still go and have fun while you are networking because again, the ultimate goal is not to get a job; is to build relationship. So it shouldn't feel like you're doing a job, and it shouldn't feel like stressful. It should just feel, oh, this is, I'm going to a fun conference, I'm going to get to learn, I'm going to get to meet people. Instead of attending a college event, I'm going to do this. Hopefully it's free. I mean, a lot of conferences are not free, so so that's different story.
Yeah, and the only I'd agree on this one because I personally hadn't had like a very good what do you say? I wanted to enjoy that first 6 months or whatever
So
time.
when you
Like
say enjoy, like what do you do when you say enjoy?
I'll tell you what happens, Judy. In UNCC, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Especially our room is like a party house,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So we'd actually invite people over, and
Yeah.
then in that way we also make good friends. So that we don't feel left out in the US when we first land.
Sure. Yeah,
We
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
yeah, we don't have anyone here in the US, right? It's one for one. So I was just, it took me personally, it took me a lot of time to just accept that I'm in the US because I'm the first person in my family to land in the US. And
Mhm.
for me, it took some time to digest and accept, like, okay, I'm here. Let's see, look around, what is there, enjoy, and then I'll hustle.
Mm.
Coming out of COVID, I think this was a much needed break for me, especially for me. Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to celebrate and be in the moment that you've made it. I want to live this moment and not be in the rush of like I need to find a job kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah. Because, see, it's simple. Just take a moment, cherish the little wins that you're in the US, enjoy the little moments, and then go around job hunt.
Coming back to the full time, is that the only strategy you applied, or did you also do the cold application as well?
No, that's the only strategy I've applied. I've not written any cold emails to anyone.
And is that the only conferences strategy, or like you were also doing online events or online networking through LinkedIn, etc.?
So the networking on LinkedIn was going parallel, Yudi. It's not like that is the only strategy. I would say try to combine the networking aspect through LinkedIn, and as well as try to attend conferences, learn a lot of stuff. I learn visually. So when I attend conferences, you can learn stuff, meet people there and learn from them. So I would say combine LinkedIn, online applications as well. At the same time, attend conferences, get that new exposure of like what happens in a conference and learn a lot. So yeah.
Got it.
Especially in security conferences, they teach you particularly like there'll be villages, for example, these are called as villages, where you can go to a particular village and they will teach you in person like how a process is being done, like in
Hmm.
real.
Was there any difference in the interview process for full time, or was it pretty much the same?
I think full time was a bit grilling, to be honest. Yeah, generally people would want to know that how you actually solve a problem, and
Hmm.
then do you really have the knowledge, or are you just blabbering around, to be honest with you. Like, firstly, as I mentioned, the web application stuff, right? Companies hand over an application to you, you attack it, document it, give that report to the managers, right? The second round, once you clear that, and the second round would be actually diving deep into every vulnerability that you've attacked. Let's say, for example, there is a vulnerability called CSRF, right? So it stands for cross-site request forgery. The managers would want to know how much depth of knowledge you have in this particular vulnerability. So they would dive deep into it. And once you keep answering again and again and again, it goes a long way, and they would wanna test how far you can break.
Hmm.
Like that's how you actually know that you're knowledgeable, right? Look at how much depth you can go, and once they hit that melting point, they're like, okay, it's good. If you've cleared at least like 3 to 4 levels of their depthness and the questions, I think you are pretty good to go. So that would be the second round. And the third would be scenario based, right? Let's say they can ask you questions like, in security, CTFs are very common, Yudi. So these
Hmm.
are capture the flag events.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I
And
took, sorry, the reason I remember, I took a security course in my master's because I did my master's in computer science. And we had to participate in the competition, which was completely based on capture the flag kind of thing. And they would have problems, and I would have to solve, like, once you solve it, then you basically capture the flag. And we were divided into multiple teams, and it was fun. It was a fun course. I would like recommend people to get that course if they're going to Chico State. But regardless, sorry, yes, it just reminded me about that. So CTF in the interview process, is it the same or is it different?
so during this is a bit different. Generally, what security engineers do is play a CTF. But
Hmm.
the interviews what I've given, these questions are like architecture design and system designs. They
Hmm.
ask in a reverse way of how do you actually create a CTF for security engineers.
Hmm.
And then this involves again software development. You would have to know a bit of cloud, where do you host your services, and how you actually create that architecture itself. So a system design knowledge is also important, I would say.
Hmm.
Looking at architectural patterns and knowing studying these would definitely help. So these would generally be the 3 rounds of when you're interviewing for a security engineer role. So yeah,
Nice. And then you get the offer, which is $1 million offer. No, sorry, just kidding.
I wish.
But I've heard security people in the fintech company, which you are, gets a lot more money than the typical product manager. So, what is the typical salary range for cybersecurity engineers?
So yeah, again, this will vary upon experience. So I would say, let's say, consider start a person with like 2+ years of experience or 1+ year of experience, right? The entry level person. For them, I would say typically it ranges between a 90 to 140K.
Wow. And you're talking about base pay?
Yeah, just the base. Yeah,
You're like, just the base. Okay. Keep going. Huh.
yeah. And then upon this, you would have different kind of perks that would
Yeah.
come from the company.
Like
But
relocation bonus,
yeah,
annual bonus, and things like that. Okay.
great. And then most of it would again also be on the location as well,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
state in the US are you from and where you work from. Do you work remote? Do you travel? So even all of these come into picture. But I would say if you're skilled enough, right, you would definitely make good chunk of money. But if
Yeah.
you do the same, let's say if you take the same security engineer in Netflix, that goes way above.
That's the same thing. Sorry, the last guy I interviewed from Apple, he's told me the same thing that Netflix pay crazy to their network engineers, and I didn't know until then. He explained me why and all of that. It was very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. If you were to give like a quick crash course on aspiring cybersecurity engineer who wants to do what you are doing, they don't have any work experience, just like you, and they don't know how to build a profile, what are the things they should be doing during masters, during the bachelors, whenever they're watching this? What are some of the skills they should be doing to build so that their profile is can stand out?
Okay. I would say, talking about the skills, keep your fundamentals right, the basic software fundamentals, right? Learn Python. I recommend. I'm a very huge fan of Python, so I'm just watching for it. But learn at least one programming language, right? Once you're good with these, understand how the Windows environment work. Understand what is Active Directory, what are domains, right? All those concepts of it, and how you can attack Active Directories. Once you're good with that, start off with web hacking. Like there are a lot of different platforms called as Buckrowd, HackerOne, and just make a profile in these. They are called as there's some programs called as VDPs where you can just go and hunt vulnerabilities for free.
Hmm.
Doing this, you get a very practical approach and experience. You get hands-on, actual real-time hacking. So try these Buckrowd programs. And I would also recommend to upskill you as you're progressing this journey. There are various platforms like Try Hackney, Hack the Box, Let's Defend.io, right? All of these cover red teaming and blue teaming aspects. They have a special roles for security engineer or a red team attacker and blue teaming side of it. Go into these websites, take one of their courses, read, and then learn upon it, right? So Track Me, Hack the Box, Let's Defend.io. Once you're good with these, if you want to level up, start pursuing offensive security certifications and TCM security certifications.
Hmm.
These are very good to get you into the industry. I
Hmm.
would highly recommend TCM security over offensive security because I think the value what it brings, especially in terms of learning, it's really good.
Hmm.
Offensive security tests you a lot of resilience. I think even that's good, but I am more aligned towards TCM security in general. So yeah.
What about the Cisco's the certifications and
So
AWS?
right. So one thing what we have to understand, Yudi, is that there are certain vendor neutral certifications and there are certain generalized certifications.
Yeah.
So as we talk about the Cisco and AWS certifications, these certs will tell you that you have certain knowledge in
About that.
these products, right?
Yeah.
If you take Cisco CCNA, that's a base. It only covers the base of the Cisco products in the majority.
Mm.
But if you want to look at general security, I think certifications like TCM security, offensive security, these do add up a lot of value in your profile.
Nice. Great. I love it. Is there anything else would you like to say to aspiring cybersecurity engineers? One last words of wisdom before we wrap.
I think the important part is embrace your hurdles and enjoy your journey while you're learning a lot of skills.
Mm,
Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, and it goes up. So yeah,
yeah. And keep watching my videos too. You should say that too.
that
Just kidding.
goes without saying, Yudi. You've helped me save 30K, and you remember that, right?
Wait, I helped you save 30K? How?
Right. So this is a very funny story again. I don't know if you remember it or not. So what happened was while I was back in India, I was filling up my DS 160 form, which is required to come to the US. Right. I
Yeah.
saw a video wherein you posted the entire DS 160 filling it up,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
I literally used to pause that video and look. Oh, did he get this? Did I get this right? And then I filled out the DS 160, and then I did not opt for a consultant. If I had opted for consultant, that would have
Yeah.
cost
Yeah. Yeah. Got
30K.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks to you for making this videos and
Nice.
sharing.
So when I come to your place, you can treat me for a dinner now.
Oh yeah, it's on me. Yes.
Nice. Cool. Sweet. I love it. Thank you so much for doing this. I can't wait to now deep dive into your UNCC journey because I know that's what we're going to be filming next. But until our next one.
Keep smiling and keep hustling.